So what's next for Venezuela and Hugo Chavez? And is the United States seeking better relations with a country that is one of the strongest allies of America's greatest foes? Joining me now to offer his insights on what is currently unfolding in Venezuela is Ambassador Charles Shapiro. He served as the American ambassador to Venezuela from 2002 to 2004. He is currently president of the Institute of the Americas in San Diego. That's a nonprofit organization promoting development and integration in the Western Hemisphere. Ambassador Shapiro, welcome to the Heat.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
You spent an awful lot of time there in that 2-year period visiting, meeting with Hugo Chavez, a man who's larger than life. I'm sure you're asking the same question everybody else is asking. What's next for Caracas? What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, the first question is what's now for Caracas, because the information about the president's health is a state secret. So nobody really knows what's going on and what's the state of his health now. The assumption is that he's in really dire circumstances, and it certainly looks that way from steps the government has taken over the past few days. What's next, he has anointed, told people that if an election is necessary to vote for Vice President Nicolas Maduro. And so the assumption is there will be elections and that we'll see. I mean, the opposition is got to organize itself, figure out who its candidate is going to be, and get a campaign organized. Literally at the drop of a hat, elections, according to the Constitution, should be held within 30 days.
He is, whether you like him or not, an incredibly dynamic individual. You mentioned to me that you've met with him 30 or 40 times.
Not 30 or 40 times, for a total of 30 or 40 hours.
30 or 40 hours, probably 2 or 3 times, it sounds like, because he does tend to dominate conversations. Describe him for us. For those, I mean, what's it like sitting across from him? What's he like?
Well, first of all, he's a remarkably personable guy who can remember details about you from last time he met you, what your spouse's name is, what your children's names are, and he always wants to know who's your favorite baseball team. And so when you meet with him the next time, he'll ask me about the Atlanta Braves and how they're doing, or tell me how bad the Braves are doing. And baseball is a national sport in Venezuela, by the way. So he is almost has the personality of an MC on a television show. I mean, he's that kind of guy. Knows jokes, songs, can tell you anecdotes. He can be hugely interesting. He's also hugely dominating in conversation.
Maduro, well, let me cast it this way. You would think that a man like that casts a very long shadow. Maduro, what kind of man is he? Because you've met him, and is he the kind of man who could emerge post-Chavez?
Well, that's the intention of the government, is that he should emerge. I mean, Chavez's last televised address to the nation, he told everybody to vote for Nicolas Maduro. Now, let me tell you that the vice president is not elected in Venezuela. It's an appointed cabinet position, just like the secretary of this, that, or the other. In this government that has been so dominated by Chavez, nobody has been allowed to have a high profile. And so what you're asking is it possible without Chavez there for Nicolas Maduro to come out from under that shadow and to enjoy the kind of support and fervor that Chavez has? And I think the answer, at least in the short term, is no.
Chavez, one of his principal tenets is that the United States has tried to destabilize his government, and this is not going to come as a shock to you. The 2002 coup, people say the United States was involved. There's been stuff on the internet that you took a role in all of this, so I wanted to give you a chance to talk about that.
The answer is absolutely not. As the then vice president of Venezuela used to joke, he said, you know, if you guys had been involved, it would have been successful. Listen, we had inspectors come down that were reported to the Senate and the House Foreign Relations Committee, which were dominated by, it had Democratic majority in the Senate at the time. They went over every record of the embassy. Their report is public, and their answer is absolutely not.
You did meet with the interim president during that period.
I did.
Is that something you regret?
No, not at all. I met with him once. I met with him for a very short period of time, and I told him views of the United States, that he needed to he had dissolved the National Assembly, that he needed to undissolve the National Assembly, that would be really good, and that an OAS team was coming to Venezuela, and that they needed to welcome their coming to Venezuela and meet with them and deal with them. Organization of American States.
Sure.
And finally, there was a crowd outside the Cuban embassy in Caracas that was threatening to break down the walls and climb into the embassy. And I said, look, you've got an embassy in Havana. We've all got embassies all over the world. Part of what we all do is you don't do that. You've got to protect it. You've got to stop that from happening.
There have been icy relations. There were icy relations then when you were there. I think, if anything, they've deteriorated over time. Now, there's talk that perhaps this creates an opening for the United States. And I want to play this for you, and I want to get your reaction. State Department spokesperson Victoria Nuland said last week that the United States is open to better ties with Venezuela, with or without Chavez. Let's listen.
So regardless of what happens politically in Venezuela, if the Venezuelan government and if the Venezuelan people want to move forward with us, we think there is a path that's possible. It's just going to take two to tango.
It's long been said that the U.S. policy towards Cuba will never change as long as there's someone named Castro in power. I mean, do you see an equivalent here? As long as Chavez is running the show, it's not possible to improve relations?
From our perspective, it need not be personality-based, but it's going to take action on the Venezuelan side as well as our willingness in order to improve relations.
I've heard you quoted as saying a real dead end for politics in Venezuela is to have warm relations with the U.S. It's just not the right way to go. Do you think that there could be a thaw post-Chavez? Is there a chance that relations can be improved?
Look, with Chavez or without Chavez, we've tried to improve relations. The interesting part that Victoria Nuland said is it takes two to tango. What's been true is up till now, the government of Venezuela has not wanted to have better relations.
You don't see that thawing at any point?
It could. I had hoped it would have before now, and I hope it will. I mean, listen, I'm a diplomat by profession. I believe that you ought to be talking. We talked to the Soviets and the Chinese at the height of the Cold War, and I think we ought to be talking to the Venezuelans.
Including the opposition.
Including the opposition, including the government, including NGOs, including the church. I mean, that's what embassies do, is you deal with the whole range of a society. That's why taxpayers pay to send their diplomats abroad, and that's what we ought to be doing in Venezuela.
Knowing the playing field, is the opposition ready if there's going to be a quick election? I mean, you've mentioned to me that the deck is pretty much stacked against them. Yeah. Capriles did well, though, in the last election.
A couple things. First, remember that the playing field is tilted in favor of the government. I mean, just from the start. While the voting on election day appears to be free and relatively fair, it's all that goes before that has the playing field tilted and toward the government. So you've got to keep that in mind. Capriles, the opposition has been terribly fragmented. Capriles did a great job, the opposition did a great job of getting unified, coming up with one candidate, running a good campaign. They did better than any presidential opponent has against Chavez in his 14 years in power, but they only got 44%. Got to win 50% plus one to win an election. If the candidate is not named Chavez,
things could change.
Things could change.
But 6% plus one,
things
maybe
could
not.
change. Nicolas Maduro is not as charismatic, doesn't have the personal following, doesn't have the fervent support that Chavez has.
Just about out of time, but I do want to ask you a couple more questions. China and Venezuela have forged closer ties. China has become a major customer of Venezuelan oil. What is the impact of that relationship, do you think?
The Institute of the Americas, we have a great program with China. I was in Beijing in the fall. We've got Chinese scholars coming to California in April. Everybody I meet with tells me they make decisions based on what is in the interest of China. And I believe that. That is, they need commodities, they need oil. That appears to be what they're doing, and I certainly don't blame them for that. For Venezuela, there's the different experts have different views. I mean, what China has done is lend money to Venezuela, I think $40 billion, and the payoff will be in oil. What you hear some people saying is that, number one, the government's already spent the money and spent it on social programs, hasn't spent it on expanding its oil production. And number two, that the Chinese have locked in oil at lower than market rate, so that they're getting a good deal off of it. So there are people who are very critical of what the Venezuelan government has done and the deals that they've made with China. There are others who say, well, they lent us $40 billion, nobody else would.
Well, Ambassador Shapiro, thank you. It's been a delight. Really
Great, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.